It seems likely within the next decade the idea of waiting for games to install and then making sure there's room in a hard drive for them will become a thing of the past, a relic that future generations will look back on the same way we do loading programs on cassette or disc. The cornerstone is a strong internet connection, which even in 2022 is very much not a guarantee, but high-speed internet is common enough that vast sections of the world have it. Google Stadia debuted publicly in 2019 as part of an early wave of games as a streaming service, where the games themselves are hosted elsewhere, likely part of the overall Google infrastructure, and the speed is fast enough that concerns like controller input lag and playing a first-person shooter in real time can be done and largely just work. At its core, the technology working at all is a bit of a miracle, a piece of cyber magic changing the world. This isn't the first time gaming's tried to go virtual. In the early 2010s, there were efforts to launch games you could play right away while the games themselves continued installing in the background. Some of this tech ended up being the framework for these online game services. Today finds a large landscape of companies offering game streaming services, with the two largest being Sony's PlayStation Plus and Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass. Amazon's in the game with Luna on the VCS, and there are numerous boutique services like the excellent retro-focused Antstream Arcade, which is an absolute must-try on the VCS. Stadia's business model has to date been its biggest roadblock, although things have changed quite a bit over the years, and the service is now very similar to its competitors. 2022 finds Stadia distant in the pack, but still alive. Whether Google has the willingness and ability to compete with Game Pass and PlayStation Plus remains to be seen. Google has a long history of killing projects outright, so the longevity of your Stadia library is probably one of the bigger concerns when deciding whether to get into it. Second, and perhaps an even more significant roadblock, is that game streaming services gamers appear to have sent a big message through PlayStation and Xbox that they want a free library of games to pick from, and at least some of those games need to be new, bigger productions. Stadia doesn't have that kind of production clout. It has in fact shuttered its own Stadia game development operations, but it continues to operate the service through third parties bringing their games to the platform. At its core, the idea is not dissimilar to something like Steam. Log in and access your library, with the difference being that the library is virtual, streamed in real time, and available to switch over to play in real time as well, on mobile, PC, even a Chromecast hooked to your television. But the idea of having to buy games you play on Stadia never really seems to have taken off, and so far it does not appear gamers are willing to think of their Stadia library the same way they would their Steam library. The core foundation of library ownership is also being muddied in recent years, with a vast amount of free games being given away by platforms like the Epic Games launcher, and Steam itself is quickly moving into the world of game streaming, although they don't yet have a service similar to Stadia. However, for most folks watching this channel, the interest is, how does it work on the VCS, since here it offers a more modern console experience in a comfortable couch environment, and it opens up a world of gaming to VCS owners. I'm happy to say Stadia works great on the VCS, and it's a great way to get hundreds of hours of gaming added to the console. The most important thing you'll want to know is you need to have your modern controller plugged into the VCS through the USB cable in order to use it through Stadia. Thankfully, it does work great once you do that, with the exception of still needing to use a keyboard to escape back to main Stadia menus. Once there, you can continue to navigate with a controller. Once you get into the Stadia homepage, you'll discover dozens of games you can claim for free with a pro subscription, and I recommend you grab anything available when you can if you have any interest at all in it. Stadia has also introduced quite a few games you can play demo style for 30 or 60 minutes, which is a nice way to check out the games and a good way to get some free gaming in. In my case, I joined Stadia Pro to find more than 50 games available to either claim or play for free. Stadia also appears to have standard store sales where you can buy games at a discount. There are currently a bit under 300 games available. I think one of the other most important things to know about Stadia on the VCS is that while Google likes to promote it as instant gaming, the actual play experience isn't much different from playing on something like a PlayStation 4 in 2022. If I didn't know I was playing Stadia, the experience felt similar to me to when I game with a slightly older console. There are most certainly load times when playing games, much slower than on my PS5, and the need to frequently click through safety screens, license agreements, and service logins is the same level of annoying as it is on a standard installed game. Most talk about Stadia to date is focused on its largely stutter and lag-free experience, maybe not perfect, but as good as it gets in 2022, and that was my experience as well. Atari has announced plans to roll out the Recharged games to Stadia, and Centipede is currently available. One nice thing for VCS owners is that this is the updated version of the game, not yet released on the VCS, which includes the additional game modes offered in more recent releases. Playing Centipede on Stadia felt just like it does on the VCS, although maybe the graphics look slightly softer. Games like Control and Wreckfest looked quite a bit downgraded compared to the versions of them I've played on PS5, although Wreckfest in particular is a big standout on Stadia as it plays and looks great and is really one of the better racing games of recent years, a personal favorite at least. You do have the ability to adjust graphics settings just like you can on PC, although I only did it for gameplay reasons and never ran into an issue with graphical rendering. So the main question for VCS owners is probably whether it's worth paying a monthly fee for the service, and to that question I think it depends on your circumstances. If you're already big into gaming on PC and console, Stadia might not offer much to you. You might instead want to look at Xbox Game Pass, especially if you're already Team Xbox, because it too is available on the VCS. If you don't already have a gaming PC or modern console, Stadia offers a great way to play newer games. I can see someone with a VCS cell phone, maybe a laptop, getting a lot from Stadia, and it seems well worth checking out if you've maybe run through most of the Atari OS library and are looking for something more. These days you can get Stadia Pro for about $10 per month. I decided to make this video in part because I got 3 months of Stadia Pro for free with my YouTube Premium subscription. I got a multi-month deal on YouTube Premium for $12, which felt like a good price to kill ads on YouTube and play these games for 90 days. A quick note on bandwidth: Google Stadia can use significant amounts of data, and Google says it requires a, quote, internet plan of 10 megabytes per second or greater to operate. The reality is you'll want more, and don't forget about your upload speed either. However, a standard modern internet connection from your cable provider is probably good enough to get the job done. You can play on up to 4K with a Pro subscription and at least 35 megabytes per second download speed. Stadia claims a typical 1080p stream will use about 12.5 gigabytes of data per hour. If you have bandwidth caps, keep an eye on it. The future of Stadia depends a lot, I think, on Google's ability to continually add to the catalog and offer games that get headlines from places like IGN and GameSpot. VCS owners, though, have a nice asset for now with Stadia, so while it's here, it's well worth checking out to get several months of gaming for a low cost. The VCS specifically offers a lean-back experience that general PCs and mobile devices don't, and it seems likely the overall experience would be quite a bit nicer than playing Stadia on your TV with a Chromecast. If Stadia does reach the end of its life, it will have been an important push into the world of games as a service, perhaps succeeded by Sony and Microsoft in the same way MySpace was replaced by Facebook, so VCS owners can and should take advantage of Stadia while it's here. Thanks for watching. I'll have more games in the coming weeks on VCS games, including Apolloon 2 and Yars Recharged, so subscribe to get these videos in your feed. Liking helps spread the word about the channel and helps get it into Atari VCS search results on YouTube. Thanks very much, and have fun.